Welcome to the first episode of Whatever It Takes. I'm Dustin Zarni, and this is proof that I will never grow up. Whatever It Takes Pod is a journey through the Marvel Cinematic Universe in chronological order. This came about from an adventure my family and I had starting in the second year of the pandemic, where we were looking for stuff to do, and we came across this list of a chronological watching of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, including all the TV shows and movies, all on one list. And as we were doing this, trying to keep my family sane in a crazy world, I really realized that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is a wonderful thing. And it really works when you're looking at it in a different way. Not the release order in which the movies came out, which is a wonderful way to experience it, but also the order in which the stories were intended to happen in the timelines that it happened, going all the way back to the 1940s to a few years into the future, into 2025 right now. So that's what this podcast is. And this is the first episode. We'll be taking a look at Captain America, the First Avenger. So stay tuned for that. And since this is the first episode, I'm going to go over the format a little bit more than I will in future episodes, but we will also briefly look at some Marvel news that is happening right now this week. And then I will go into a recap of the feature that we're going to be looking at this week, and then talk about how it fits into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, how it builds the universe, some of the important things that I believe that this episode that we're talking about will bring to this universe that Marvel has built, and some of the important concepts that it layers in that they draw upon later on. So I'm not going to really go into reviews as much of the show, although I will do that little brief recap, but I will talk about concepts that this, whatever the subject is of each episode, brings forward. And again, there are many other Marvel podcasts out there that are going to be much better at collecting news and talking about futures and rumors and all of that. That's not something that I'm planning on doing here with this podcast. I'm really more planning on talking about how this Marvel Cinematic Universe seems to have been built in a way that is fun and fresh, and looking at it in a different way than most people experience it, and also how me, father, connecting with my son over these properties that we have grown to love and allow us to spend time and bond together. So I'll be throwing that in as well. So there's more about the exact nature of the format in episode 0 that I released last week. But for now, let's move on. We're going to go to What Up 616 and current Marvel news. This week we had the current episode of Moon Knight. Episode 5 debuted on Wednesday. It is the penultimate episode. Next week is the ending. Again, I don't get into reviews of current stuff. We'll get into Moon Knight when it comes up on the list, although it's going to be a couple of years, since Moon Knight is actually happening in 2025 in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It is the most current, and that has been confirmed by Disney Plus. It is the most current of all the properties. So we will check in with that 3 or 4 years down the line. But I want to say I've been loving Moon Knight, the horror element of it. Episode 5 really was a weird episode for a superhero show, but boy, they have a lot to actually wrap up in episode 6, so I can't wait for it. This week we saw some more TV spots for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. That is going to be premiering next week. We're less than a week away on Thursday for Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness. Man, and it looks wild. And we saw some things in the TV promos of names of characters and names of groups of characters and a shield from a character. I'm not going to get into the spoilers, but if you like it, go take a look at some of those TV spots. And I can't wait for this movie. It's going to be another fine addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think it's going to break tons of box office records. And I can't wait. That comes out next Thursday. Also, America Chavez is going to be in Doctor Strange. She's an interesting character. It'll be a new character for Marvel audiences, but she's also an LGBTQ character. And this has caused quite some controversy across many other countries that have started to ban this movie for the 25 seconds or so of content that is talking about LGBTQ issues. And I got to say, kudos to Disney. They have not backed down. They are not editing their film. And countries like Egypt and Bahrain and other countries are banning it because of it. And I guess I'll just go buy 2 tickets now for this, because I got to give kudos to Disney for standing up for their values and against what some of these other third world countries are asking for in current, the world. This is a brave step, and I'm glad that they're doing it. Thor: Love and Thunder had released its trailer, its teaser trailer. I'm really excited for this film. This is a big event here. Thor will be the first of the Marvel characters that have their 4th solo movie. And of course, the developments with Jane Foster and a lot of these things. I know a lot of people are trying to avoid spoilers, so go watch the trailer if you want. And I'm not going to talk about the spoilers as well, but boy, that's another great movie that is coming out as well. There was some disappointing news in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, into the Sonyverse part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, delayed their release. It was supposed to be in October of this year. It is now delayed till June of next year. But they also did name the 3rd Spider-Man film. It was there was a part 1 and a part 2 for the 2 films that are coming out, but now the 3rd Spider-Man Spider-Verse film is called Beyond the Spider-Verse, which is interesting. Are they going to break over from animation to live action? Is there is this the way that Miles Morales gets introduced into the main MCU? We'll have to see, but we'll have to wait even longer to even start to see that, because part 2, the sequel to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, will not be coming until June of next year instead of October of this year. Sony did announce that they are planning on developing Venom 3. Again, is this connected to the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Well, we did see some connections in Spider-Man Far From Home, and whether the Venomverse or the Sony Villainverse is going to interact with the main MCU is yet to be seen. I mean, there is some interactions, and that's why I've included them in my little journey here, but it is, we really don't know what Venom 3 is going to be, but it's interesting that they are going forward with this production. And they also are starting to release footage at CinemaCon of the other Sony Villainverse of the Craven movie. Has released some footage at CinemaCon. So the Sony Villainverse is really going to be picking up steam, and hopefully will not be as bad as Morbius was, which was, in my opinion, one of the worst Marvel movies out there, and possibly, a possible, canary in the coal mine when it comes to the Sony Villainverse. But until it implodes, we'll cover it, and I'll see the movies. We'll see what happens. And then finally, the Villainverse for Marvel also continues to being built at Sony, as the El Huerte wrestler has been announced to have a movie in development starring the rapper Bad Bunny. It's going to be an interesting, an interesting, little Villainverse that they're building. We saw that Morbius had some connections to the MCU and name dropped Venom. So, and the Seattle incident. So they seem to be in the same universe. I would imagine that Craven and WIPT are going to be in the same universe as well. And all of these Sony Villainverse projects are going to be in the same universe. It'll be interesting to see if there is a Spider-Man that eventually joins that universe that's different than the Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield or the Tom Holland Spider-Man, eventually as well. So there's a lot happening in Marvel, and that's what this What Up 616 segment is for. It's to talk about the things that are happening right now, just briefly, and so we can, get on to why we're here, and that is because we are going to take a look at Captain America, the First Avenger. So, we got an incoming transmission from SHIELD headquarters. SHIELD headquarters is this week's feature. Captain America, the First Avenger. Let's go to SHIELD for the dossier. It premiered on July 19th, 2011. Captain America the First Avenger was part of the first phase one, and its critical reception, Rotten Tomato score of 79%, tomato meter of 75%, pretty good reception for a Marvel film. The budget of this film was $140 million, and the worldwide gross, according to boxofficemojo.com, is $370,569,774. So very successful, and that is what continued to have in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So now, before we get into the layering, I'd like to go into the recap of the show, so we kind of remember what it was, because this movie didn't, just premiered like over a decade ago. So, 11 years ago now. So, we will now go to the recap. And we open Captain America with SHIELD finding Captain America as a capsicle in the Arctic. And then we go back in time and we find out that Herr Schmidt is roaming around Eastern Europe looking for a power source called the Tesseract. Meanwhile, little skinny Steve is in America, being picked on by bullies, and he's desperate to join the war. That's where he finds Professor Erskine, who says, "Hey, you look like a good guy. I'll pass you, but you got to be part of this special unit." And that's where Colonel Phillips is saying, "Are you really want this little skinny Steve to be our super soldier?" And Professor Erskine's like, "Yeah, that's my guy." Then Skinny Steve gets injected with all kinds of Vita rays and all kinds of magic to make him buff Chris Evans. There we go. And Peggy Carter's like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" But then the ultimate crasher, the Hydra agent comes up, shoots Professor Erskine, and blows up all of the agreements. Little skinny Steve is now have magic super legs, so he's chasing him through the streets of New York. But the Hydra agent will not be captured. He'll kill himself, say "Hail Hydra," and die. And as punishment for not being able to save the day, Captain America suffers a fate worse than anyone. He has to star on Broadway in musicals. Meanwhile, Herr Schmidt and Armin Zola are saying, "Hey, Hitler, he's actually kind of moderate. We're going to be even worse than Hitler." And Hydra takes over and breaks away from Germany. But Steve, going on a U.S. tour and finding out that his friend Bucky is in danger, decides to go to one of the super secret Hydra bases. He saves Bucky and finds out that Herr Schmidt and him over a bridge of peril. And Herr Schmidt says, "I'm your brother from another mother," and reveals that he is not only human, he is also the Red Skull, an enhanced human that Professor Erskine has helped. Well, Captain America saves the day, bringing back his Howling Commandos, proving himself as a battle-tested leader. So Colonel Phillips says, "Hey, we'll put you in the field." And Howard Stark says, "We have this really high value in indestructible metal, and I decided to make a shield out of it. So you can have it." All right. Captain America and the Howling Commandos go through Eastern Europe, beating up Hydra bases left and right. In the meantime, Peggy Carter is really desperately falling in love with him and can't hide it anymore. But one final mission where Armin Zola is on a train, Captain America and his Howling Commandos decide to board the train to capture him. But oh no, Bucky falls over the side of the train and dies, maybe. Steve, filled with rage, says, well, we're going to go take the fight right to the Red Skull in his super secret base. He gets captured because he decided to do it alone. He comes face to face with the Red Skull. But then we find out, no, it was a ruse. It was just a fake. All of Colonel Phillips and the Howling Commandos are storming the base, and Captain America takes off in pursuit of the Red Skull, who is aboard the Valkyrie, a super secret bomber that can destroy all of Eastern Europe and all of the eastern seaboard, everywhere, really. It can destroy everywhere. He gets one final kiss from Peggy before he boards the vein. He gets on his final fight with the Red Skull on the Valkyrie. He says, hey, you can't get rid of me that easily. The Red Skull then drops the Tesseract into the sea, and Captain America, who realizes that he cannot stop the plane. He has to crash the plane and become a capsicle. That is when he wakes up in this really, really weird room and thinks, oh, hey, I must have survived. But no, he notices on the radio that it is a ball game that he has himself already been at. And so he breaks out, beating up a whole bunch of modern SHIELD agents, and ends up in Times Square, where he is confronted by Nick Fury. And he realizes that he has missed his date with Peggy Carter. And that is the recap. This movie came out in 2011. My son Grant was actually born in 2009. So I didn't start sharing these things with him until he was about 5 or 6 years old. I remember leading into Avengers Age of Ultron was one of his big first movie experiences, going to the movies to see a movie as it came out. So the entire phase one of the Marvel Cinematic Universe was something that I was able to share with him when he got a little bit older, and around 2014, 2015, and so that he didn't really see this on the big screen. I did. I saw it on the big screen when it came out, and it was interesting to be able to watch this as the first installment, as opposed to the fifth movie that came out. Watching it in this chronological order, it really sets Captain America and the events of Captain America First Avenger as the changing of the world that this Marvel Cinematic Universe exists in. No longer are we just talking about humans. We're talking about a known factor of superhumans with Captain America and Red Skull. And sure, there's other things that have come into it, but having this placed right at the beginning of this Marvel Cinematic Universe was a neat introduction and a great way to look at these characters. And that's what the next segment is all about, is how this movie set forth concepts and characters that have built the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And of course, as we're talking about building the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we cannot, leave out or forget the star of Captain America First Avengers. Of course, Captain America, Steve Rogers, played wonderfully by Chris Evans. He was an amazing part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe during his time there, and for all of the first three phases. He was the heart of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the ideal of American patriotism, even though not necessarily the ideal of following government orders, as we saw throughout the first Avengers, the peppering of Steve Rogers deciding that he knew better than his commanding officers, that his senses of loyalty and being a good person superseded any orders that he might get while serving in the army. I think that layered some decision making that we saw from Captain America later on in Civil War and Avengers Endgame and all of these other, phase 2 and phase 3 movies that really turned, the Marvel Cinematic Universe on its head. But also, I think it, shows his role as a leader and how he became the leader, the de facto leader of the Avengers, not because he had the money or put the team together, but because he had naturally good leadership ability, strategy. It was his strategy that defeated the Red Skull in the final Hydra base. It was his willingness to defy orders that saved the Howling Commandos, and of course it was his bravery and sense of goodness that made the final sacrifice where he downed the plane to save the entire world. So that is, this movie really laid the foundations for the Captain America that we saw for over the next 12 years, and Chris Evans' acting was superb. Of course, then we lead to Agent Carter. I really believe that this is the first heroine of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Again, this is the first movie in its chronological order, but it came out in it was number 5 here, and it actually came out after Iron Man 2, which had the introduction of Black Widow in it, who many people felt was the first heroine. But I think the version of Black Widow that we saw in Iron Man 2 was not necessarily as heroic as the version of Peggy Carter that we see in the first Avenger. This is a smart, capable woman who's in a male-dominated field. She was not afraid to fire a gun. She was not afraid to take the fight to people. She was part of storming the final battle of the final Hydra base. She was a confident and brave and just a brilliant tactician as well. She was not just someone on the arm of a hero. She was a rightful and forceful character in and of herself, and we see that in the TV series that she eventually leads into. So the laying of this foundation of Agent Carter here lays the foundation for her 2-season TV show that we'll be reviewing as well, and then of course her appearances in the Marvel Universe, as an older Agent Carter in Ant-Man, and even though it was a brief appearance, and then as an elderly Agent Carter in Avengers, and then of course in Civil War, her death. This appearance, she was a forceful star in this movie, and something that I really enjoyed being able to share. Of course, the movie also introduces Howard Stark, the father to Tony Stark, who is our Iron Man. We get to see him in his glory, in his heyday. And I think what I liked about the portrayal of Howard Stark in this movie is it showed that obviously the genius of the Stark's families was inherited and part of family legacy, but also he was not perfect. He had inventions that didn't work. He had things that he was a womanizer. He was kind of a cad, but he was also somebody who was also willing to give up his fame, his fortune, for the right cause here. And he wasn't just the weapons dealer that it has been portrayed in other storylines. He is someone who's giving up his cause, his money and time for a cause he believed in. And we even see that where he put his life on the line by flying Captain America across enemy lines to fight Hydra, to get Bucky and his band of brothers back. We also saw the introduction of Bucky Barnes, Captain America's best friend, played incredibly well by Sebastian Stan. The friendship that these two formed was really evident, especially in the first few minutes of this movie. And that friendship, and of course, Bucky's bravery, shows, laid the foundation for the events that we saw in, Captain America Winter Soldier and Captain America Civil War. It's really, Sebastian Stan and Bucky Barnes is an important part of this trilogy that came out. And then, of course, an important part of the events of this trilogy that shook up the Marvel Cinematic Universe in phase 3 of Marvel that led to the events of Endgame and Infinity War. So this character, is something that, is a long-running character now in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, having gone through his transformation to Winter Soldier, and then, of course, back again, to his hero turn for, Falcon and Winter Soldier, the TV show. So I think, this character, in the way that this was portrayed, the friendship that he and Steve had during this Marvel opening phase here, this opening movie, really laid the foundation for a lot of storylines going on through into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But hero storylines aren't the only ones we're talking about. We also have villains. And of course, the biggest villain of them all, Hydra, the nameless, faceless organization that was founded in this movie, that is such a storyline that goes in and out of the Marvel Cinematic Universes, branching into TV shows and into the movies. Hydra started here as an arm of the Hitler's, Nazi Germany, but then broke off because, Hitler was not evil enough for that. So the establishment of Hydra and the far-reaching and dominant villain that the Hydra organization became is very important. But of course, it was started by Herr Schmidt, also known as the Red Skull. I think when this movie first came out, we thought that the Red Skull was going to be a bigger part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but the actor who played Red Skull did not want to appear in any more films, and I think that hampered any storyline. And of course, his apparent death at the end of this film, was able to, leave him out of future films and leave him out of future storylines. But we did see a return of this character in a very, multiversal, transcendent way in Avengers Endgame. It was not played by the same actor. It was played by a voice actor that was able to dub the original voice. But it's too bad that the original actor for Red Skull did not want to come back, because he played him brilliantly here. And we did see the invention of what a polar opposite of what Captain America could be, and why Steve Rogers is such a phenomenal example of a superhero who resisted the urge to turn. And so this Red Skull edition was, I think, very important. Of course, his henchman, Armin Zola, was also important as well. We see the remnants of him throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but most notably in Captain America Winter Soldier. As he lived on, and was really the way Hydra continued to exist in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, was because Armin Zola defected over to the United States, but he never really turned away from Hydra. He just used SHIELD and used the United States government as a way to rebuild Hydra. And I think the Armin Zola character is a very important bridge from this first movie to the modern Marvel Cinematic Universe, and how Hydra continued to be a relevant threat for all of our heroes that we have. And then, of course, it's not just characters that Marvel builds threads through. It's concepts and technologies as well. The super soldier serum is not just something that Captain America dealt with. The legacy of the super soldier serum, it can be seen in the Hulk, as that is part of the Hulk origin, as well as they were trying to recreate a super soldier serum. That's also, of course, Abomination is a direct descendant of that as well. And the invention of a super soldier serum, is what has really catapulted the Marvel Cinematic Universe away from the normal universe that we're living in, and of course this enhanced universe that with enhanced beings. The super soldier serum is the granddaddy of them all. It's what started a lot of this. It's what caused other aspects. It was created by Tony Stark's father, Howard Stark. So it is a legacy that is that weaves its way through, for good and bad, through the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then, of course, we have the Tesseract. The Tesseract is talked about, but we eventually find out that the Tesseract is one of the Infinity Stones. We do not find that out in this movie. In fact, we don't find that out until phase 2, that this is an Infinity Stone that we were talking about. But obviously the plan was there. And this Tesseract becomes a major player, obviously, in the next movie, in Avengers, that not next movie we review, but the next movie that comes after Captain America in the normal timeline. And it's being lost to the ocean floor at the end, and then being recovered by Howard Stark, sets in motion the events that we see play out in the current timeline of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the modern timeline, which started in 2012 with 2008 with Iron Man, and then moving into the 2012 Avengers movie, which is also the current Marvel Cinematic Universe timeline, at the time it was shot. So the Tesseract, was introduced in this. It was the first of the Infinity Stones introduced, and it wasn't called an Infinity Stone at this point, but you can see in the way it was introduced as a guarded relic in that first castle there, that this is something that has been around and throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe's history, and leading towards the events that we saw in Avengers and Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity Wars. And then no Marvel Cinematic Universe can be talked about without the wonderful cameos. And that is by my man and the creator, Stan Lee. His cameo in this movie was this old general at a press conference where Steve Rogers didn't come out because he was off fighting the war, and we have this wonderful comedic line by Stan Lee that he didn't think he was coming. So that was a wonderful little cameo by Stan Lee, and the first phase of the Marvel movies started this cameo, and every cameo that he appears, I'm going to try to highlight here, because I think those things were things that Grant and I looked forward to, looking for his cameo until his death. But the first 3 phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Stan Lee was making his cameos, and it was a staple of these movies. And of course, later on, it's been theorized that he was a Watcher, or at least part of the Watchers, and that is why he appeared so many different ways throughout so many different universes and movies as well. One thing that the Captain America First Avenger didn't have, that all the other movies seem to have, was the end credit. In fact, Captain America First Avenger did not have an end credit scene. It had the trailer for the Avengers on it, which was the next movie that was slated to come out in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So in future movies, we're going to talk about the end credit scenes too, because I think the idea of the end credits was something that is unique and prevalent in a Marvel universe in Marvel, especially in Marvel movies, although they also do end credits in the TV shows as well, from time to time. So these end credit scenes, helped build the universe in ways that the natural storyline didn't. But there was no end credit scene in Captain America First Avenger. So we'll have to go on to the next project and look for end credit scenes there. And I hope you enjoyed this little recap into Captain America First Avenger. That is all I have to say on this topic. And next week, we're going to go on to another version. But before we do that, we have to get to our Bible, the watch list, a list created on our website that will show you where we are and what's coming next in the podcast. And if you go to whateverittakespod.com, that's whatever-it-takes-pod.com, that is our home on the web, and that is where we find the Watcher list. This is a list that I have compiled using several different sources: Disney Plus, Digital Spy, and a few other resources to give the order in which my family is actually walking through this Marvel Cinematic Universe as we speak. So the Watcher list is compiled here, and Captain America, as you can see, is number 1 on the Watcher list. So next week, we'll be moving on to Agent Carter, seasons 1, episode 1 through 4, which is the order in which we are going over this universe, because Agent Carter obviously happens in the wake of Captain America First Avenger. And I only do 3 to 4 episodes at a time. So I don't do more than 4 episodes of a TV show to try to recap in a thing. But I'm not going to do 1 episode of a TV show either, because that's just, then we'll be here for like 10 years. So we have a lot of content as it is. As you can see in this Watcher list, here we are. My family is on item number 57 that we've been doing since March of 21. We're on number 57, which starts Iron Fist season 1. We're going to be starting that shortly. And I'll try to update you all where we are in our journey. And of course, episodes, once this is up and on the web, will be listed. The Whatever It Takes Pods episodes will be listed right next to the episodes that we have reviewed. But as you can see, there is a lot to go. As my son told me, we have a lot of content here to go through. And I even have the Spider-Mans from Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield as part of this, because they are such a big a part of Spider-Man No Way Home, that I felt like it was important to have them on this watch list, and it will be fun to do as well. And the rules of this watch list are quite simple. If it's a Marvel product that was produced after 2008, the beginning of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's on the watch list. So even tangential stuff that we're not sure of the canon relevance of, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and although I will contend that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was definitely canon when it began, and I believe it's canon still now. But also the Netflix series, Daredevil, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, they were canon when they were produced, and I believe they are canon now. And I believe the same thing about horrible TV shows like The Inhumans, and then like some moderate, maybe they were supposed to be part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, maybe not. And that's the teen shows like The Runaways and Cloak and Dagger. We're gonna talk about those as well, again, in 3 to 4 episode segments. And so next week, we'll be moving on and checking off Captain America on this watch list, and moving on to Agent Carter season 1. That is our next thing on the watch list that we'll be talking about next week for episode 2. We'll be doing episodes 1 through 4 of Agent Carter season 1. I hope you enjoyed our first episode here at whateverittakespod.com. And remember to go to whateverittakespod.com on the web, whatever-it-takes-pod.com, and join us. I'm Dustin Zarni, and thank you for joining us on this weird journey through the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Bye-bye.